Hello guys, my name is Larry Fisher, and after showing you my first half of the season with First India, I would like to introduce you the second half of that year, starting in Melbourne on January 12th. And let's jump ahead to the starting grid, starting from 5th position. A great start, overtaking my teammate, but then I forgot once again to turn off the pit limiter and call it amazing start by him from 10th to 3rd in a few corners. And a few two corners were so difficult with the cold tires because we got new tire physics for the second half of the season. And if the tires are cold, it's like driving on the ice, so we were all very cautious in the first corners, not to spin off and not to crash and anything. So I stayed on the 5th position. These two guys, Cooper McAllister in McLaren and Philip Zalle in the Lotus, built a big gap in 4 laps as they were on the super soft tires, fighting for the lead here. And Hess and Collett were fighting for P3 as they were on a medium tire. The tire is so much slower and they were not able to keep it up with the guys in front of them. In lap 10 the situation on the front relaxed a little bit. Zalle leads McAllister with 2 seconds. And behind, far behind, Collett still fights with Hess for the 3rd position. Instead not attacking him and losing more time, and let the gap to the front increasing and increasing much more than it happened. And I also was not able to run the pace those guys at front did. I was just too afraid of an accident and pushing too hard. Lap 14 out of 58, Flore Fernandez in my slipstream, attacking me for my 5th position. He was on a super soft tire and clearly faster than me for around a second, and I didn't even defend because I knew that it's gonna cost more time for me to defend and to fight instead of letting him pass. And that was the conclusion for me to pit right away and to get rid of the way slower medium tire to save one stint. And of course I took the super soft tire too. In lap 17 I was under pressure by Li Xin, the Mercedes behind me, has pitted 1 lap before, and this mistake forces me to go into the gravel. I broke a little bit too late, spun off and lost a lot of time, and of course my 5th place to Li Xin, who now decides to stop and get new tires. The clock shows lap 22 as Philip Zalle attacks Cooper McAllister again for the lead around the outside in turn 3, and look what's going on there. Clement should have spun off and Zalle had to prevent the crash and stuck on the, as he called it, the curb of the death. What a bitterly end for this guy who definitely could have won this race. And passing by that Lotus, I almost ran into him after braking too late while his engine explodes. Safety car was deployed and I tried to minimize the damage I had with the older tires and get some new ones. Restart on lap 29, we all struggled again with the cold tires, and for a safety car restart I had a big gap to Hess already, Collett behind me under attack of Li Xin, and nothing happened in that lap. But 1 lap later I was under heavy pressure by that Mercedes driver. I was a little bit distracted here, giving Xin a better chance to get my slipstream. He tries it on the outside line, Collett on the inside line, and just like last season with Ferrari, I was able to defend both. But Collett managed to pass Xin and attacking me for the 3rd position. Very aggressive and almost a maniac move by him, but I opened the door for him to prevent any incidents and he moved up to 3rd because he was simply faster than me, so I wouldn't have been able to keep him behind me for a long time. But in lap 33 Xin maintained the pressure on me, trying to overtake in every corner because he knew that it's very difficult to overtake me, and he was already very frustrated. A half lap later he tried to overtake me in this corner. I didn't really defend because it's normally not a position where you overtake, and he almost touched my right side of the car. But he continued fighting, he continued slipstreaming, and he tried everything to overtake me. I was defending again on the defending line, and again I was in front of him in the first corner. But our refine had found an end. I was covering the inside line. I was allowed here to move to the outside line. There was no space for him, but he tried it anyway. Again, he touched my right side and he spun. Afterwards he complained at the race control, but neither of us had a penalty, because it was totally his fault. To the end of the 43rd round, Cooper McAllister decided to pit after I closed up to him to 3.5 seconds, and I was knowing that he had to take the hard tire. So, as a reaction on his stop, I decided to pit as well. And after my stop, look where the McLaren is, look where I am, but McAllister has got the advantage to have hot tires while I still struggle with the cold tires and I need some corners to heat them up too. So that's why he was able to come really close to me here in this part, but this is not a section where you can overtake, so actually I was safe here. On this place it was a little bit tricky because I knew that he might attack, but I defended my 3rd position, and in that moment I had my tires on temperature, so I pulled away. 9 laps to the end, Collett leads this race with 1.5 seconds in front of Alex, but look, he flips over in turn 11. crashes the car into the barrier, losing a tire, and it's all but over for him. And Hess couldn't believe it, he only has to bring it home now. What was going on? It could have been an easy win for Dennis, but thanks to this massive incident by Qualit, Force India celebrates the second consecutive double win, with me finishing second. And Hess secures his 5th win this season, with a big gap to me in the race and in points too. And Lee Shin, after a hard fight with Cooper McAllister, finishes 3rd after McAllister crashed 2 laps to the end. Season's 12th round is underway, starting from 3rd position behind pole setter Cooper McAllister. I had a superb start and I was able to put myself beside him and even overtake him. But under braking for the first corner, both front tires locked up because of the low temperature. He hit me slightly from behind. He was able to get inside. I wanted to stay on the outside line to get the lead in the second corner back, and my plan worked out. Then I had to look back if he attacks me, but he didn't, so I was in the lead. Somehow I managed to be way faster than Cooper McAllister, even though I expect him by a half second faster than I was. And I pulled away lap by lap, 3 or 5/10 of a second. It was pretty incredible how I managed to go this pace I did, but it was cool. In lap 14, the gap between McAllister and myself were between 16 seconds. I was behind Yamada to lap him. It took a little bit of my concentration and I spun. It cost me just 3 seconds, could have been more. And my biggest fear was that it might cost the lead or something. But thank God the spin didn't change anything in the race. Lap 16 and the Mercedes driver decides to pit. What was a little bit surprising for me is that he decided to go on the hard tire, which helped me to increase the gap even further. And as a reaction on his stop, I decided to pit as well. And my strategy was to use the hard tire as less as possible, so I took the soft tire again. Rejoining in first position, of course. And the gap between McAllister and myself became bigger due to his cold tires, and for me it was a more comfortable situation than before the stops. After 21 laps the gap was over 20 seconds. One reason for the gap is that McAllister had to work even more. He had to look at his mirrors after Alex Quickstrom, who crashes into his back and both drivers go off. As we figured out later after the race, Quickstrom started with only 100 liters and nobody knows why the fuck he was driving and why this actually happened instead of just going to the pits, but he is out of the race, and so this collision costed McAllister's chances to win this race after he lost so much time on me and Hess close by. And after that collision, he seemed to have a slight damage on the rear end because he slowed a little bit down, and Hess was really close to him to attack him for second place in lap 25. Around the outside on the last corner, and even this was a good advantage for me because I could even more pull away from them. And during the race I was knowing that this could be it, this could be my day, but I still had to be focused, concentrate on the track and not to make any mistakes, as Hess still fight with McAllister and I could pull away even more, but I knew that the win is possible. So very comfortable situation for me and I just have to be concentrated and bring it home. So with my big lead, I decided to pit for yet another soft compound in lap 36, over 40 seconds on Hess, so just easy going. And as anything happened in the race, let's just jump to lap 54. They all decisive lap actually, well, not really, because this is my last stop, in which I take the hard tire for just 2 laps. This was my strategy and an ideal situation, just 1 or 2 laps. So rejoining on first place, 2 laps to go. With cold tires, just bring them on temperature no matter how, just do anything wrong, just bring it safe and drive safely, and do anything wrong, the gap is really big, 20 seconds, so just play it safe. And here we are, the last corner of the race, and no comments on that, just listen to my outburst of emotions.
Und da ist das Ding.
Ah.
Oh, ich kann's nicht glauben, Alter.
910 days after my debut, 48 Grand Prix starts, and I finally achieved what I've been fighting for so long. Nobody knows what the fuck I've been through to claim my first ever victory. But even in those moments of my outbursts of emotions, I was knowing that I cannot lean back, but I will have to continue working hard for the next win and for the next chance, because there is still a huge mountain to climb. But here's the result. I won this race. Hess secured the third consecutive double victory for Force India under heavy pressure by Cooper McAllister, who finished his first race in this league on third position. Ni hao from China, 13th round of the season, starting from 4th position. Due to the smoke I cannot see anything, but I was able to out-accelerate Alex. And we go towards the first corner, actually full lock to get some temperature in the tires, overtaking Li Xin, who ran a little bit wide even because of those cold tires. And I wanted to attack a little bit more to get some more temperature in the tires to set Corlett in danger, but even in the first lap it was obvious that he's simply too quick for us, and I was thinking that he's gonna be the winner of the race. And this is what I mean, finishing the second lap and the gap is more than a second, and I also was under pressure by Philipp Zalle, who was on a hard tire and pretty quick, but one lap later I was able to pull away from him, so he was not a problem for me anymore. It was a tactical and lonely race for everybody, so let's skip ahead to lap 14, call it pits, while I go through to take over the lead for just one lap, because it's quite obvious that I will stop one lap after him too, so here I'm going to the pits. And here comes Corlett with those two Mercedes drivers, rejoining on 4th position, and the gap was pretty much the same between Corlett and myself. And here you can see how obvious and how different it is to have better tires compared to McAllister, who is on an old set of hard tires. So this is actually I think my only overtaking action. Overtaking him in a slipstream and actually outbraking him for the hairpin, and I moved up to 3rd position. And Li Xin on 2nd position goes to the pits, so actually in 2 corners I won 2 positions. It's not one of the most entertaining races. Lap 30, Corlett is over here, and here am I, far away from him, actually no chance to come closer and to set him in danger or let him push. But I had to push because Cooper McAllister was on a completely different strategy and was coming closer and closer. His new set of medium tires was quicker than mine, as my tires are a little bit older, and I had to push a little bit more to be able to stay on 2nd position. Lap 31, I pit for a 2nd time, getting again the medium tire, which is a softer one here. And here comes Cooper McAllister, who is obviously on a 2-stop strategy, rejoining on 3rd position, and he's a big danger for my 2nd place. And lap 35, McAllister pits too. And here, of course, I leapfrog him as he just goes to his crew. And lap 50, I'm behind Corlett because he pitted 1 lap earlier. So do I, because I have to take the hard tire set. And just look at that. Here is Cooper McAllister leapfrogging me for the 2nd place. And I recognize in the middle of the race that I cannot hold him back. So I tried to bring the 3rd place home. Better than nothing. So this is the finish, 3rd place. Outracing Hess for the 2nd time. He finished 5th, his worst result this season, but Dennis Corlett, his first Grand Prix victory since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, a really strong performance by that Red Bull driver. Cooper McAllister, very strong performance, a great strategy, finishing 2nd, and I finished 3rd. Bahrain, the 14th round of the season, and my 50th Grand Prix, starting from the 1st row in 2nd place. The start was quite good. Tried to take some slipstream, but now it's getting really tricky. I was not sure what Corlett was doing, but he ran wide due to the cold tires, and that gave me the chance on the inside line to take the lead. And he was not able to attack back in the first corners as his tires seemed to be colder than mine. I was able to keep a 3-second gap between us for 12 rounds. He seemed to have more wings because he closed up for 0.3 of a second in the 2nd sector, and I moved away from him again in the 1st and 3rd sector. But here he was really close to me to attack for the 1st position, and I drive a low downforce setup to have a little bit more speed on the straight, which is not easy then to overtake me. And as you can see, Corlett struggles to come closer even in the slipstream, and this is why I set my setup on that way. So here I was able to defend my lead, but I don't think he's gonna give up. He maintained the pressure on me throughout the entire lap, and here he makes a mistake braking too late, trying to avoid an incident and going through the gravel. In lap 14 I decided to go to the pits with the hope that Collett will drive another lap, but he's right behind me. I hope to gain some more seconds to increase the gap on the fresh tires, but he didn't give me the chance. Now he continues. And I'm coming back again in front of Collett. Hess is behind there going to his stop. So rejoining in 1 and 2 and our fight will start again. Just a few corners after our stop, Dennis tried to pass me in the following hairpin, but I anticipated it and I closed the door for him. So not this time, bro. But just one corner later in the difficult double left-hander, I ran a little bit wide, almost spun off. And now Collett has got the chance to pass me on the inside line, but I tried to push him onto the inside line of the straight. Now running wide again to have a better apex through this fast turn, and I was able to defend my lead again. And now lap 17, start finish straight. Actually he's too far away from me to start a move, but look, just like in Melbourne, actually braking himself beside me, taking the inside line, and now he passed me. But it's not over. Now slipstreaming. Putting myself beside him and not give him more space than one width of the car. Wheel to wheel, going into the third corner. Now he tried to push me a little bit wide, but I tried to maintain my position. Here I am in front of him, but running a little bit wide, and actually this was it, because in this fight he got me, and now I use my low downforce setup and Collett immediately switches to the right side to defend his position. I still continue slipstreaming. I have nothing against it to go wheel to wheel on him into the first corner. But it doesn't meant to be. There was no chance to get my position back. And here on lap 24 you can see the gap is more than 3 seconds. Collett is clearly faster, clearly more consistent, as I was not really consistent because I tried to push more to come closer to him again. And as the gap to the Red Bull driver increased and increased, I decided to pit in lap 36 to gamble a little bit. Instead of going to a medium compound, which is a softer one, I decided to switch to a two-stop strategy and take the hard tire to finish the race off, with the hope to leapfrog Collett when he will stop for the third time to get the hard tire. Clearly in the lead, Collett had his own problems he had to solve. For example, here he had been thrown to the desktop. He had to find a way immediately to the track again, losing important seconds to me. And with those problems I could have got him when he had to stop for the third time. Here in turn 3, same problems. He found his way immediately back to the track to continue his outstanding pace. And with those problems, it could have been my second win in my 50th Grand Prix, because I could have got him, but until this moment. Ran a little bit too wide, spun off. And that was such a shame, because without that spin I could have leapfrogged him when he had to stop for his hard tires. But now I've thrown it away and the gap is more than 20 seconds now. And here is the Collett stop to get his hard compound in the last lap, as predicted, rejoining in first. And there I am over there hanging down the straight, coming towards the hairpin, and there is nothing I can do now, even though I pushed as much as I could. So at the end of the day, strong performance by Collett and myself, finishing second. A stupid bug by this track, which didn't really let my celebration look like how it's supposed to be, but I think everyone understood that I'm pretty happy with the second place. So the season's 14th round had been won by Dennis Collett, I was second, and Alex Hess completes the podium. Home sweet home, we're back in Europe for the 15th round of the season in Barcelona. I started from the second place again. Wheel to wheel with Collett towards the first corner. I had an excellent start here, but I had to brake a little bit earlier because we don't know what's gonna happen with the cold tires. And I got almost overtaken here by Mark Schmidt in the Sauber, but Collett runs wide due to the cold tires and giving me yet again the chance to take over the lead. So just outbraking him for turn 4 and I moved up to first. In practice we could see that Dennis is gonna be the fastest man on track again, so we can see her here. Slipstreaming towards the hairpin after the Kamsa corner, on the outside trying to crisscross me, but it didn't work out for him. Lap 3, start finish straight, slipstreaming, now he has got a low downforce setup. Again I forced him to the outside line, and we go wheel to wheel into the first corner. He ran out of track and he had to lift. Slipstreaming again on the start finish straight, taking all the momentum. I pull over to the middle, but didn't give him enough space to attack, so give it up and try it next time. It's pretty obvious here that the pole is way faster than me, taking all my slipstream as much as he can. Yet another time I force him to go to the outside line. Now he is ahead of me, but I'm able to brake later than he did with a slight drift into the corner, running a little bit wide, but I was able to stay in front. Now I gotta stay on the inside line for the Repsol corner, not to give him the chance to outbrake me. But again, drifting into the corner, running wide, he's got the outside line on me. Again, I'm braking too late, drifting into the corner, and then he crisscrossed me and he is in the lead now. But I don't want to give up, I want to be in front of him to hold him off for Hess. But here in this corner I do a really big mistake, touching him slightly, going too much on the throttle, spinning him away, and he crashes right into the barrier and loses his rear wing. And a little incident between some more drivers. Here, let's take a look at it from the TV cam. Touching him slightly, spinning him away, he crashes, and Mark Smith totally crashes into me as he had no chance to react, loses his front wing, but I had a slight damage on my rear suspension, nothing else. But the impact had a massive influence on the driving behavior, totally missing here the corner apex. In lap 8 I went to the pits to serve my drive-through penalty I've been given for the collision. I think no discussion on that, the penalty is alright, so... Rejoining 6th in front of Christian Yamada, who is there coming down the straight, and I had to continue my race with my damaged car, and it didn't really felt so good as it did in the first 5 laps. So as a conclusion at the car's bad behavior, I decided to pit a bit earlier in lap 15 to fix the damage and get some new tires. So coming back on 6th position in front of Sebastian Smith, who is already lapped, I had to let him through, which was a safety solution. Now then, in lap 16 it's getting really tricky. I have to overtake Sebastian Smith out of the slipstream to lap him, and Collet is just in my slipstream, gaining a position against the Ferrari, but he also wants to take my slipstream to be faster, and this interferes me a little bit. Even though he crashed into the barrier, Collet seemed to be really fast, taking my slipstream again. I was not sure what he was doing. I wanted to let him pass because he was obviously faster, but he didn't want to overtake me, so it cost me a lot of time to communicate with each other what's gonna happen with us both now, and that interfered me a lot, which was actually his plan, as he told me later. In lap 25, Hess was on 2nd position, followed by Julian Kopp, who has got a really strong race here. They are fighting for the 2nd place, while I am here on a back straight, still fighting a little bit with Collet. So I have a long way to go to get back on the podium. In lap 32 I was on 4th position in front of Florian Fernandez in a Ferrari, who was at the pits to take his hard tires, and he was closing up more and more. As we figured out after the race, we were faster with a hard tire instead of with a medium tire, which is totally mindfucking because in real world you're faster with a softer tire, but with a WCP physics it seemed to be other way around. And of course the damage from my collision stopped my pace a little bit, so I tried to defend a little bit, but then I spun. So yeah, it was actually not a good race after the collision I caused. After realizing that we were really faster with a harder tire, I decided to pit again in lap 32, actually again earlier than planned, to pick up the hard tire and finish a race off with them. Coming back again to the track, and of course Fernandez is nowhere, but my 6th place is actually safe. In lap 48, Fernandez stops again for the faster tire, you're right, the hard tire. And there I am coming on the straight, followed by Dennis Collet on the straight, overtaking the Ferrari in the pits. I tried to push as hard as I could to build a gap of 20 seconds, not to be overtaken by the Ferrari if I have to stop, but here I brake a little bit too late, making a big mistake and not 20 seconds, because he's right behind me. Now on the inside line I tried to minimize the gap to him, fight with him, but I totally misjudged the situation. I almost pushed him out of the track. Thank God I didn't got a penalty for that one, because it was totally not my intention, so I apologize immediately for that. So I realized in lap 59 that I will not catch the Ferrari again, so I decided to pit for the medium tire to set a fastest lap. I mean, just a little bit fun, because Collet is still a lap behind me. So my last action, after Simon Hinze in the lead, lapped the entire field, finishing 5th, the first time after 7 consecutive podiums I'm not in the top 3. I mean, it was a bad race after 5 laps, so this was the maximum I could do. After 66 laps, Red Bull test driver Simon Hinze wins his 2nd race in 2nd participation. Nice stats, bro. Hess finishes 2nd and increases his lead in the championship, and Julian Kopp finishes 3rd after an amazing race, putting Hess under pressure for the entire race. Welcome to Monaco, the most difficult race in the season. I'm starting here from 3rd position, right through the middle, deactivating the pit limiter and going with Collet towards Saint-Devote, and for the 3rd time in a row I'm able to claim the lead after the first couple of corners. In terms of the championship, I will have to help Alex out to score as much points as he can, so my mission is to hold Collet back as long as I can, as Alex has already a small gap to us. And the Red Bull driver doesn't want to hesitate and tries his first move towards the chicane, the only possibility to overtake here. And the same is happening 2 laps later. He wants to show himself on the outside line that he's on attack. And the same situation in lap 8. Again he tries to break himself beside me. Start finish straight lap 10. Yet another time it's obvious that Khaled is faster. I'm blocking the inside line. He goes to the outside towards Santevot. And look how narrow it is between us at the wall, going wheel to wheel towards the corner. But I was able to stay in front as Kopp hesitates to attack the Red Bull driver too. The fight between Khaled and myself has put us together in a group of 4, fighting for the lead actually, which is quite amazing. I was under heavy pressure by the pole behind me, so that I touched the wall after the swimming pool chicane, sliding into the next chicane, almost losing my car, and of course Khaled takes the chance to get by and to take the place where he belongs. Now I'm going to the pits in lap 11. I hope to get my lead back with the fresher tires. Rejoining the track, everything is clear, actually the best thing that can happen to you in Monaco, so I was confident to get my lead back. Lap 13 and Khaled pitted too, there he is. Now I have to run around the Santevot, and this is exactly those 2 seconds which I had before the stops, so my strategy didn't work out. Khaled pulled away from me in lap 18 while Hess was haunting Kopp, and he's touching him from behind, spinning him into the wall. Kopp loses front and rear wing, and afterwards Hess got a drive-through penalty for that. And for me there's no chance to catch Khaled again because this guy consistently pulling away from me, so I try to drive safely and keep the second position, but here I spin off, crashing my front wing into the barrier, losing it, as we had a massive tire wear at the rear which was incredible, so I had to stop here again to get a new front wing and of course new tires. And rejoining after that in 3rd position, only Hess was able to overtake me after his drive-through penalty, thanks to the incident between him and Kopp, who was a lap behind me just like the rest of the field. And from then on, it was a typical Monaco race for me. If one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong. So I became here the next victim of the Santevot, losing my front wing and having a puncture on the left tire at the rear. And I did realize that, and after braking for the Massenet corner I spun off. So I had to crawl back to the pits again. So after spinning away several times, just like here, I finally made it to the pits. It was simply undrivable with a puncture, and I lost an entire lap and every chance to get back on the podium. So after all, I rejoined 8th and on last position, and I was really pissed off about it. The situation relaxed a little bit. I'm rejoining here in 6th position again, but this time without any damage. But around 15 to 20 seconds after my stop, look at Sebastian Smith, braking for Santevot, and heavy crash into the barrier. Thank God he is alright, but this incident caused a safety car. So here it comes out of the pits down the straight. Julian Kopp and myself are in behind. Later that lap we were allowed to overtake the safety car as we were 1 lap behind. But on lap 42, still trying to catch up the safety car, I'm braking too late. I don't know what the fuck I was doing there, but look at this shit. Instead of spinning around left bound, I crashed into the barrier and I have still no explanation for what I was doing there. But this fucked everything up again because with the safety car I had the chance to come back on the podium. So here's the safety car, lap 43, Khaled leads, right behind him is Hess. Yamada and myself, we're right behind them. But we will be allowed to overtake the safety car as we are a lap behind again. So lap 50, green flag. Khaled is in the lead. Both Sauber drivers attack Hess for 2nd place. But what the fuck? Khaled has lost his front wing in the Santevot. Hess and the both Sauber drivers pass him, and Hess is now the new leader of the race. And now everyone goes by him because his tires were too cold for braking for the Santevot. Everything locked and he went straight away into the barrier. Here in lap 51 I am in 7th position behind the unstable car of Mark Smith. He made some mistakes and it seemed that he let me through. Thanks for that, man. But I moved up to 6th and I wanted to try to haunt everybody in the field to come back to the podium in any possible way, as I fucked everything up because of my motherfucking action in the safety car, and I'm still pretty pissed off of that. So in lap 60 I tried everything, pushed as hard as I could, sliding, drifting, taking every curve as hard as I can. As you can see it here, a nice slide. But the weird thing was that no matter how hard I pushed, I was not able to close up to Yamada. And here, oh, a rear wing. And look at that, now I have a puncture. And I think in those moments I had to give up my chase to Yamada on 5th position and just bring it home in 6th, as it is the maximum I can do now. The situation at the front can be tricky as well, because Hess didn't stop, so he has got old tires. While Khaled was at the pits already, having new tires, and he's coming closer and closer to Hess, and for the last couple of laps he's still able to catch him. So the fight for the win is not over yet. He has to keep his championship chances alive. Turning into the toboggan, oh my goodness! He turned too early into the corner and slamming his Red Bull right into the barrier, losing a tire, and the race is over for him. So after the Collett incident, the safety car was out in lap 75. So after 3 laps of safety car, that's how he finished the race. Alex Hess wins the Monaco Grand Prix for the 2nd time in a row and having best chances to win the championship in the next race in Canada. And I crossed the line in 6th position and securing Force India the Constructors' Championship. So after a bad race for me, it was still an awesome weekend for the team. So the Monaco Grand Prix gave us everything it promised. An exciting race with a lot of action and a lot of incidents. And as Monaco is his favorite track, Hess wins it for the 2nd time in a row. And the only thing he has to do to win the championship is to win the Canadian Grand Prix, even if Collett finishes 2nd. Then, under this scenario, Hess will be the world champion. Florian Fernandez, after a long time not being on a podium, finishes 2nd. And Julian Kopp, just like in Spain, completing the podium. The 16th round of the season is in Montreal, Canada. I'm starting from my first ever pole position, having a good start with slightly wheel spin there. Collett is now a little bit ahead of me, but then I'm able to outbrake him for the first corner with all those cold tires. But Julian Kopp makes a big mistake, braking on the grass, crashing into the barrier even though it was a little bit laggy and strange, and the race is over for him after not even a round. Due to the accident, the safety car was deployed and I decided to go to the pits. So did Collett, and so did Hess. And Steve Berge is also behind us to go to the pits. We wanted to take the medium tire and get rid of it for just 1 lap. But I forgot to change it in my menu, so that's why I had to hesitate to go to my crew. That cost me a lot of time, so that Hess, Berge, and even Collett has got the chance to pass me in the pits, which means that I lost my lead. So as promised, Hess go to the pits after 1 lap on the medium tire. I follow Collett into the pits as well. The same strategy to get rid of the medium tire and to get back on the super soft tire again. Hess goes by as we're changing our tires. But yet another time Collett stays in front of me. And Steve Berge is in behind. So lap 5, green flag, and it's time to race again. I have already a big gap to Collett and to Hess. Braking way too late with those cold tires, missing the first corner, going over the grass, but I was able to keep Berge behind me. And the gap was pretty much the same to Collett. Jamie Lamkins, the Caterham, holds up Collett and Hess, so that I got the chance to come really close to them. Now taking all the momentum out of the corner, slipstreaming, and now look at that. Hess and Collett managed to pass Jamie Lamkins, very fair action by him, and I also used the chance of the open apex to attack them both, because I want to have my lead back. Collett tries this on the inside line, Hess gives him some space, but this space gives me the chance to crisscross him, moving up in front, and now attacking Collett. Taking all the speed, all the momentum onto the long straight, slipstreaming, Collett defends his line, forcing me again to the outside line, and the funny thing is that I've already overtaken him last year on this way, on the outside line into the last chicane, and outbraking him on the outside line. I pretty much like this overtaking maneuver. So now I try to defend, try to give Alex some slipstream to overtake Collett now, to put us both in front of him. But it didn't really work out, so Hess will have to fight by himself. Now again, lap 6, towards the hairpin. Collett tries it on the inside line on me. Wheel to wheel through the hairpin, and he passes me. But now, from the rear camera of the Red Bull, you can see me haunting, waiting, slipstreaming. I want to try the same move as 1 lap before. This time from the inside line, but this time Collett holds the upper hand, not give me the chance to outbrake him into the chicane. And now look at the front. Mark Smith in the Sauber tries to attack the leader, Christian Yamada, and we also have to attack them, and they're 2 or 3 seconds slower than we are. And here I'm braking again, way too late, losing my place to the Toro Rosso of Steve Berge, but thanks to my good traction I was able to get it back in the next chicane. Here you can see from my nose cone how close it is. Yamada and Smith just holding us up, Hess in front of us, Collett is somewhere there in between. And we have to pass them as fast as we can, not to give Collett a chance to run away. As Mark Smith spins off due to braking on the grass. And then we only have Yamada to pass. Collett shows Yamada that he wants to pass him. And he did it. But they're so slow through the chicane. Hess has to brake even more. I touched his rear a little bit because I had no chance to react. Collett is through. Yamada is still second. And now Steve Burch is in between us. We have to overtake them both as fast as we can as Collett runs away from us. A beautiful slide by myself, but it didn't change anything in the situation right now. And I couldn't really understand why Steve Burch is defending his position as he is 2 or 3 seconds slower, so sooner or later he will be overtaken by us anyway. But this is a battle for 3rd position, so it is his right to fight for it, and I have no right to be mad at him. And now it gets even funnier because Burch attacks Yamada for 2nd. Holding us up again in the hairpin. Yamada is now history for me, but Steve Burch is still in front of me. Look what Collett is, he's nowhere, he's running away from us. Sealing the deal now on the straight, overtaking Steve Burch towards the last chicane, and now I'm finally 2nd. Well, Yamada spins away. And now look at the gap between us. This is crazy how much they hold us up. And Hess is still behind the Toro Rosso. So on lap 22 the gap increases to Collett, so I decided to pit, but things won't get better now. In front of me, Collett's teammate Christian Ruff. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but look, he's totally holding me up. I have to push him a little bit so that he can realize that he's on track. And I couldn't overtake him without crossing the pit lane. And that cost me a lot of time again to come closer to Collett. And surprise, surprise, 1 lap later, Collett pits, rejoining in 1st place. There I am, somewhere in the nowhere. I don't know how big the gap was already, but I think I gave up in that moment to chase him. As the blocking story in the pits is not bad enough, then look at this story. Yamada in front of me is lapped, Mark Smith also lapped, rejoins back to the track, right in front of Yamada with cold tires. And of course, Christian Yamada tries to attack him and overtake him. I would have done this too. But for God's sake, they are lapped, they have to let me through. And again, I'm losing more and more time to Collett. Now Mark Smith let me through. And a half lap later, I have to overtake Yamada instead of he let me pass. Actually, I should have got blue flags, but obviously not. Ferrari driver Sebastian Smith, after his heavy accident in Monaco, suffering here yet another heavy incident, straight away into the barriers after the last chicane, causing safety car. So Collett goes to the pits, and so do I. And this is a better chance for me, again, to come closer to him and to chase him, because I know that I'm able to win it. During the safety car it's really difficult for us to heat up the tires, because if they're too cold you're simply sliding away, and that's exactly happening to Alex now during the safety car, smashing his front wing into the barrier and losing important places and important time, but the safety car stayed out for a few laps so that he's got the chance to come back to the field again. But more than a half lap later I'm right behind him again, as my aggressive driving style allows me to bring my tires earlier and faster to temperature than a smoother driver. And now again, the same story, Collett defends his line, I'm slipstreaming, giving him space for one width of the car, now pulling over to the outside line to have a better apex, but Collett is in front of me. By the first apex, I have to cut the chicane, but it didn't give me an advantage, so I have to be behind him again. I pushed as hard as I could as long as he's right in front of me, but this mistake ruins everything. He pulls away, the gap is too big for a slipstream, and this was my last chance to pass him. In lap 57, the leader decided to pit, probably for the last time, and I followed him, with a gap of around 5 seconds in between us. The only guy who didn't decide to stop is Alex Hess. He tries to gamble. He wants to finish a race off with that set of tires he has got since he lost his front wing. And he wants to win this race, because only a win can provide him the championship title in Canada. So he really tries to win it. So actually being safe on 2nd or 3rd position, I didn't really try to push anymore, but I'm still sliding. And now look at that. A bug by this track forces me to give up the race. The suspension is gone as well, but the tire is on the track. So here's my damaged car, crawling back to the pits, getting everything replaced. And here exactly on that place I was told to give up the race because it's not allowed to add a tire if you lost one. But I didn't lose the tire. I just lost the suspension, and there's nothing written in the rules. It was just an oral rule. The race control can't rely on oral rules, and that's why I've blown my engine, because it doesn't matter anymore. I have to give up the race anyway, so things doesn't want to get better for Collett as well, as he suffers a brake failure in lap 63. He realizes he won't finish a race anyway, so he turns off his engine and let every championship hoping die. So the only thing he can do is to finish that goddamn race off and becoming the world champion of 2013-2014. Congratulations, you sick bastard! Nobody would have thought, not even he did, that he's gonna be the champion after the season. No one thought that. What an outstanding season by Alexander Hess, but Dennis Collett had also a very strong season, but it was not good enough to finally become champion. So, the result of the Canadian Grand Prix, as we already know, Alex Hess wins the race and secures his title. Steve Boesch, a very strong race by him, steering his Toro Rosso on the second place, and Florian Fernandez had almost catch Boesch for second place, but still he's in third place. And Collett gets 6 points for the 7th place as he finished 90% of the race. The British Grand Prix in Silverstone is the 18th round of the season, and as you can see there are not many drivers on the grid, only 5 participants. And this is only the formation lap, and I will tell you why I'm showing this. Because this happened in the formation lap, heating up the tires, I spun, and Christian Ruff hit me, I lost my front wing, losing my pole position, and this is the reason why I had to start out of the pits. Actually the first time in my career, and due to the 5 participants we had in the race, it was a quite uneventful race, so let's jump ahead to lap 32. Julian Kopp, of course, clearly in the lead, was a little bit too fast in the way in to the pits, and you've been given a drive-through penalty for that, which made the thing between myself and him very interesting. 1 lap later he's coming to the pits to serve his drive-through penalty. Here he is rejoining, going out of the pits, and there I am, just leapfrogging him and getting my lead back actually. But the only difference was that I was on a hard tire while Julian was on a medium tire. He used his hard tire right on the beginning of the race, and here I got confirmed what I was thinking in that moment, because he was way faster due to the tires. We both misjudged the first corner a little bit, touching. He's running wide, but I was able to defend my lead, and a few laps later he had a big lag, so that I was able to pull away for 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds couldn't hold on for the entire race, so it was clear that he's gonna catch me, and I didn't really defend here as I was knowing that he was faster due to the tires, so why risking everything instead of finishing second? And after this uneventful race, this is exactly what happened. Julian Kopp wins the race, and I finished behind him on second place. So here you can see Julian Kopp wins, I'm second, and Steve Boesch for the second consecutive time on a podium with only 5 drivers on the track. So the season's final race is on home ground, the German Grand Prix at Hockenheimring. Starting from second place, Collett had a bad start, I had a great one, and going first towards the first corner, right behind is Julian Kopp, the last race's winner. Collett moved up to second place again, and I built a gap of around 2 seconds in 10 laps. But then I fought back because I spun off here. Actually I hit the wall with my rear wing, but I had no damage, which was quite funny with that kind of impact I had. But of course I lost important time. Lap 25, 2 laps after our stops, and Alex and I had realized that we hadn't a fight together for an entire season. So we wanted to do that in the last race, fighting against each other for a position. Running wide here on that curb, and Hess has got the chance to pass me towards the stadium. But on the following lap, I was behind him in his slipstream, and as everyone took this race as a fun race, we wanted to have some fun, so I outbrake him for the hairpin, and moving up again to 4th position. While our fight, Collett was at the pits in lap 28, and now look where he is. He rejoins right between the 2 Force India cars, and Hess was able to overtake him on the outside line as Collett had cold tires. Only in lap 32, Collett passed Hess, and now he's behind me. Again, slipstreaming on the long straight, totally blocking the inside line. And now look at this, a typical Collett move. Braking, and then changing the line, getting the inside line, but he broke a little bit too late, missed the apex, and that gave me the chance to crisscross him. Now he's ahead of me, going towards turn 1, attacking too much of the first curb, running wide, and now I'm again in front of him, and he's losing important time to Kopp, who leads this race. And again, lap 39, Collett is slipstreaming, and I have to mention that he had way fresher tires than I had, which was amazing, so that I was able to defend my position for so long. But here, now I'm braking too late, and he had got the chance to pass me on the inside line. And that was the end of our fight, as my tires had something around 20%, and I had to pit even though I didn't want to. But Collett's race had found yet another bitterly end. I don't know exactly what happened there, but he smashed his Red Bull into the barrier again, losing a tire, and the race was over for him. And now look what I'm doing. I'm slowing down, driving to him and kinda laughing at him while Yamada passes me. That's exactly what he did when I crashed in Monza, but we all laughed about it, so don't take it serious. And only one corner later, I overtook Yamada right in front of the Mercedes arena, which is quite cool for me because I have a Mercedes engine under my ass, so it was pretty cool. But Yamada didn't want to give up. He followed me, so he overtook me in the arena in lap 62 on the inside line at the Sachs corner, and I fell down to 5th position. And after my stop in lap 62, I tried to get the fastest lap of the race while finishing on 5th position, and I really did it. I set the fastest time of the race and finishing the season 2013-2014. What an amazing season with a lot of ups and downs. So the last race of the season was won by Julian Kopp in the Sauber, his second win in a row. Florian Fernandez, once again an awesome race by him, finishing second, and Alex Hess, the world champion, completes the podium. And his name is on top of the Drivers' Championship. After 19 rounds he scored 320 points. Dennis Collett, the Vice World Champion, is on second place with 246 points. I'm on third place with 204 points. And Florian Fernandez, with 170 points, is on 4th place, and Christian Yamada was able to hold his 5th position with 118 points. In the Constructors' Championship it was not that close. Force India dominated the entire season, winning the championship in Monaco after 19 races, scoring 524 points. The Red Bull Racing team is on 2nd place with 327 points. Ferrari, thanks to the very strong performance by Fernandez, moved up to 3rd position with 203 points. Williams secured the 4th position with 171 points, and McLaren on 5th place with 139 points, in particular thanks to the 88 points by Patrick Lemieux. If you look at the stats between Alex Hess and myself, I think it's pretty obvious. We both had 18 starts throughout the entire season, but even if you look at the wins, it's pretty obvious. Hess celebrated 7 wins, while I had only 1 win, my first actually. But in terms of pole positions, it's other way around. I was able to claim 2 pole positions, while Hess had only 1 in South Korea. But as we all know, it doesn't change anything in a Drivers' Championship, so at the end, it's quite unimportant how many poles you've got. In the qualifying, well, it's pretty close between us. I've been out-qualified for 9 times, but I out-qualified Alex for 8 times, so it was really close between us. But I came closer to him, so I improved in that category. But again, outracing 3 to 12 for Alex. My only 3 times where I outraced him were Malaysia, China and Bahrain. And in terms of podiums, of course, 9 to 50 in that stats. And my personal statistics in overall, 55 Grand Prix starts in almost 3 years of Air Factor League racing. In those 55 races I was able to claim 2 pole positions and 1 win, and altogether 15 podiums. I've driven the fastest laps of the race. One was in Austin and the other one was the last race of the season in Hockenheim. So my overall career points, 403 points in total. So this is it. Actually, it's always a great experience to participate in a long season with 19 or 18 races, and I don't think that many leagues are able to do this, even though it was pretty tough sometimes to keep your concentration and motivation up with only 5 drivers on the track. It's not really cool. But we made it, and now we can concentrate on the next season, which is gonna start on June 1st in Australia with the 2006 CTDP mod. I'm really looking forward to it. I think everybody does. So thanks for all support, thanks for all watching, and at the end, thanks for all. Now I will lean back for a month, relax a little bit, and then coming back to attack for yet another season. Thank you very much, guys. Goodbye.